Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. How you guys doing? Hope you guys are having a great Saturday. Um, got had a lot on my mind recently with recent events, um, especially I'm going to touch a little bit into the situation with Afghanistan, which is just one of many countries going through stuff. Like, don't let the news media fool you. Like, there's stuff going on in Yemen, Myanmar, Thailand. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. There's so much chaos that's brewing and upheavals going on right now. Shoot, even in our own country, I live in America, just in case you're wondering. So, and the reason I have the title Fear is because us in the West, in particular in America, we act like fear is a wholeheartedly negative thing. It has like negative connotations all the time. Like everybody acts like you're not supposed to be afraid of anything. That using fear to either control yourself or control other people is wrong, but yet it is the basis of any civilization. You have to have a certain healthy level of fear to get people to function properly. And it's sad to say that. It's sad to say that we can't just live in anarchy and everybody just do their own thing and be free to do whatever they want to, and then the society is just going to still function. Like, no, you need fear of consequences for doing dysfunctional things. A lot of people don't have fear for that anymore. Like, we see the welfare state, we see, people care more about their autonomy, their body autonomy than, what's good for the collective as a whole. A lot of kids growing up without fathers and stable homes and things like that. And I'm saying that it has to be one way or the other, like an extreme. I think everything needs a balance. But at least for me, right, if I had to sacrifice my so-called freedoms so kids didn't starve at night, so there wouldn't be homeless out in the street all the time, I'd probably sacrifice a few freedoms, man. If they were like, hey, you can't go out to eat, 4 days out of the week, and somehow that correlates to we keep homeless people off the street and we have enough food to feed the hungry. You know what I mean? Like, but just don't do that. That's, they had a law or something like that, or they highly discouraged it. I'd be like, yeah, sure. But see, as Americans, we're so selfish. It's like, oh, my freedoms, like, don't take away my freedoms for any kind of reason, right? And it's ironic that, because I guess you could call me more of a conservative kind of guy. It's ironic that, though, that conservatives are so obsessed with that, but yet at the same time, they complain about what liberals do. And all liberals do is basically, a lot of them are proponents of supporting ideology in which people have unlimited freedom pretty much to do whatever they want to do. Like with, like you can identify with whatever you want to. You could, have sex pretty much with anybody, anyone, anywhere, and with no consequences, do any kind of drug that's available to you. For the most part, yeah, that's a lot of what a lot of them want. Like, yeah, when it comes to government, they want high taxes and, all this other kinds of stuff, and to basically have the government, basically provide for everything. But when it comes to personal choices, they're very, very, very big proponents of, libertine like morals. And if you don't know what libertine is, it's very kind of almost like a, hedonistic kind of lifestyle. You know what I mean? If you see, like, especially with the media and music and entertainment these days, most of it is a proponent of hypersexual culture. And don't get me wrong, I like to, I'm not trying to put myself out there, but I'm a red-blooded man, I love women. But there's one thing, there's time and place for everything. You can't just have a culture where it's just like, like sex is considered the paramount of people's human achievement, because I see the negative side of that. It seems like when people, the more sex people have, the less mature they are. and they're super stubborn about the consequences of what they're doing, especially in relation to men and women. There's a lot of out of wedlock births. There's a lot of dysfunctional families, and a lot of that comes down to the base level of people not having control of their base desires. Now, I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say that I haven't fallen victim to my base desires, but here's the thing. I've done everything in my power to be conscious of not impregnating somebody that is not going to be good for me, because I'm afraid of what could possibly happen from that, like having a kid, out of wedlock, and then like this person making my life harder, paying child support, dealing with a crazy baby mama, all that stuff. That's fear, right? That's fear that keeps me from that action. And that's a healthy amount of fear, because I don't have the best life, don't get me wrong, but I tell you what, I got 99 problems and the baby mama ain't one. A lot of brothers out here, man, it's a pandemic in of itself, man. Everybody acts like, you haven't achieved success as a black man. There's black men that haven't, achieved much in life, but they got a baby mama, and that's almost looked upon as like, okay, I can die now, I have a baby mama. You know what I mean? Like and I think a lot of it has to do with the culture of even slavery, man. Because I know in African cultures it's very taboo, but here in America, I think that because of the transatlantic slave trade and all that kinds of stuff, they literally made us to be breeders. So a lot of us have especially the men, we have a breeder mentality, right? We're the buck, you know what I mean? Like, we kept the breeding house stocked with babies. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what we did, work the field and have sex with a woman to produce more children that would be slaves that worked the plantation, And a lot of people don't want to think about that. Even like the most conscious, super conscious, brothers out there that, black woman is God kind of brothers and stuff, they won't even admit that. Because they're a lot of the times they perpetuate that like crazy. In fact, that's the reason that they're so-called conscious, is because they want to get women to do that with. Hey, Nicer, how's it going? I've been doing good. Thank you for showing up. You're always here from the get-go. Thank you. I really appreciate your support wholeheartedly. I got an Instagram, by the way. I'm going to put the Instagram in the chat. If anybody wants to look me up on Instagram, I'll holler at your boy. So yeah, like fear is, something that I think society needs. Now, it should be tedious fear. Like, I believe there should be, for the most part, freedom of speech. And actually, ironically, it's like, during the 60s, the people that had the free speech movement were like, the liberals, saying Mario Savio and Berkeley and all that kinds of stuff. Now, this day and age, they're against that. It's like you can have freedom of speech as long as the speech is towards this ideology, supporting this ideology. You know what I mean? And it's got to be all the way through, man. Like, I'm a practicing Muslim, and I'm not triggered when I see pictures of the Prophet, peace be upon him. I'm not triggered by, people criticizing Islam, especially if it's from an actual intellectual standpoint, because I was once that way too. So I'm not triggered by that. Now, when people go out of their way to become menaces and super disrespectful and invading Muslim spaces to do things to provoke people, that's why I draw the line. But they have all the right in the world to say whatever they want to say. However, it gets to a point too where people have a platform and they can say really slanderous stuff with no consequences. That's what I'm against right there. You can't, like, for instance, this day and age, you can get on a platform and say anything about anyone, and it's taken for complete truth. No citations, no truth search, no backing it up, no fact checking. You can say anything. And even if it's proven wrong, it's still out there, and people still have that ingrained in their minds. And we see that a lot with different movements, whether it be the hashtag movements and all that kind of stuff. Like you can say anything about anybody and then it's taken as, truth. And that's unfortunate sometimes. I think there needs to be more investigative fact checking and things of that nature. I think that's part of a healthy society is to have doubt that's, backed up with not only, maybe scientific stuff, but just, in a court of law, I can't say anything about anybody and it's just taken as the truth, you know what I mean? Like there has to be evidence for that. But getting back to the topic, fear is a good thing, but like I said, it's about extremes, right? Like for instance, when communists and the fascists, when they took over a lot of these countries, it was like, oh, you say anything, blah, 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 you're going to end up in the gulag or a concentration camp and stuff. I think that's unhealthy right there. Like that's negative. That's terrible fear. But for me, I have fear, let's just say, when I drive on the highway, right, I am terrified of getting in a car accident, especially if I'm the perpetrator of it. I'm really terrified of that. So I drive accordingly because I am afraid of that. Now, I'm not necessarily afraid of dying per se. I've kind of come to the realization that maybe I won't reach the point of life where I think I would like to be. Like maybe I won't reach a point in my life where I'll be able to see grandkids and grow old and all this kinds of stuff. Hey, I could die tomorrow. I fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I fear the day of judgment. But I'm not really per se afraid of dying because I don't have any children. I don't have a wife. I do have family, but for the most part, there's no one in my life that depends directly on me. So I'm less afraid of dying, and not saying that I want to die or anything like that. Yeah, I went through depression and all this other kind of stuff where I did have suicidal ideation, but I appreciate my life. I love my life. I appreciate, all the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me. But if, I have to check out, I have to check out, right? That's just a part of life. It's death, unfortunately. And I've had a good run, I could always do better. But sometimes I think about it when I make salah or offer salah. I'm like, man, there's some kid in some country out there starving to death. Would I trade my life for his? For all the things I take for granted. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, I would totally do it, and I feel bad and selfish if I'm not like, oh, this kid is starving. Would I trade my life for theirs, It's something that I consciously think about a lot because especially Americans, we love to complain about how terrible our lives are and how terrible our conditions are when there's people literally dying to get to where we are right now. And it's something that we don't really think about a lot. We take everything that we have for granted, and it's super sad, So when it comes to also fear, another thing is that ties into shame, and I'm really always thinking about that. Like at one point, hopefully, inshallah, I have children and I'm getting married and all that kinds of stuff. So I want people to think their dad is a decent human being. I would hate for my kids to dig up dirt, stuff I've done and stuff I've said in the past. So now I move accordingly, right? Like I think a lot of parents don't realize that, like, you know what I mean? Like they didn't really think it out, especially when you're young, because a lot, of course, young people really don't really think things out accordingly. Oh, hey, when I have kids, how am I going to explain to my kids, like doing X, Y, and Z things that, weren't healthy or things that weren't productive or things that were very risque or even selfish and destructive. You have to explain that to kids because kids are sponges and a lot of them, they always look up to their parents. And sometimes, unfortunately, they make the same mistakes that their parents do. Like, the parent will be a drug addict and alcoholic. The kid sees it growing up and unfortunately they pick up the habit too. And it's just like a perpetual cycle. Domestic violence is the same thing. Kids see domestic violence happen in the home, and they end up committing domestic violence when they get older. And it's kind of sad that it's a continuous cycle. And even as society, even though we acknowledge those things as being bad, we still perpetuate it, right? Because see monkey do. So I always think about, like, I would hate for my kids to like find out, the person I used to be. I think that's acceptable. And I'll be honest about that. I'm not going to try to hide it from them because they're going to probably find out anyway. So I would definitely be like, hey, Dad used to do this, Dad used to do that. That's stupid. I was going through a lot of stuff. I didn't have the same support that you have with me, somebody to talk to, a parent that was empathetic and things like that. So I look for love in all the wrong places, and whether they be chemically or, sexually or stuff like that, I always sought, that validation that I didn't get at home with somewhere else. That's really unfortunate. Nicer, you said, been seeing talk of food shortage and empty store shelves. Filled my freezer and stocked up to have 2 months non-perishables on hand. Wouldn't call it fear. I call it being smart. Yeah, that's what's up. And you're correct. Like, people act like, especially America, it's like, I noticed that when like a lot of people from overseas come to America, like they're so, in awe of how much we have of everything. And everything that you possibly need is in one store, what I'm saying? Like your supermarkets and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, like it's good to stock up, especially canned goods, and non-perishables, because, people are addicted to eating like a lot of meat and a lot of things that are perishable and stuff. But guess what? If things comes to shove, unless you're going to like herd cattle and skin them yourself and do all that kinds of stuff, you're not going to be, or raise chickens yourself, you're not going to have access to that meat. And a lot of people, I think, are low-key. If it comes down, push came to shove and everything shut down, a lot of people will starve to death. They don't know how to farm. They don't know how to fish. They don't know how to even prepare their own food. Like, there's some people that don't even know how to cook. And there's some people that their whole diet is based upon meat. So if they don't have any meat, they don't really know what to eat in substitute of that, in lieu of that, it's going to be nutritional. You know what I mean? So that's a good point. But yeah, I think a lot about, fear and the concept of fear, because the way that, we make it out now, especially with, the media and television, is that, oh my God, people live in fear. People live in fear. People live in fear. Like everybody lives in fear. It's just a political talking point. Everybody lives in fear. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a part of being a human being. Now there's different levels of fear, but being afraid of something is healthy, because especially if it's something that's a danger to you, it's healthy to be afraid of that. Now, don't be paranoid and lose your mind over the thought that, something bad can happen to you. There's people like that where they don't even freaking leave the house because they have so much freaking anxiety. Like, oh my God, this is going to happen. No, like, that's unhealthy, but it is okay to be afraid of certain things. I'm afraid of being broke, right? So financially, I'm always trying to think about something I can invest in, or some kind of way I can put some more money to savings, because I'm terrified of being broke. I've been homeless before. So I said to myself, that will never, ever happen again. I've been homeless and unemployed. I want to always keep down steady income. I always want to keep a roof over my head. I always want to keep food in my belly. You know what I'm saying? That's a healthy amount of fear for me. So I act accordingly. I make sure that I don't behave in a certain kind of way that will affect my employment. I make sure that I show up for work on time. I make sure that, I spend my money wisely, and I don't have impulsive spending, because a lot of people these days, especially with Amazon and all these online stores, they just think that, it's relatively affordable and it's free delivery. Let me buy this, and this, and this. And they're hoarding a bunch of stuff that is absolutely meaningless in a couple of months after buying it. And so they have a consumer's mentality, but not a producer or entrepreneurial mindset, to where they have income that's coming in that's greater, like a lot greater than their consumer demand. Like, if you're eating out all the time, you're buying a bunch of useless crap, you're drinking and smoking and all the time and things like that, you are going to have a negative financial outcome, because a lot of stuff, especially that you buy, is disposable, right? Especially you spend money on food that you go out to eat. Like, you eat one meal, you poop it out, and that's pretty much it, right? as opposed to maybe getting groceries where you can make several meals over a period of time. And then so it's more of an investment. And that's the way I look at it. You know what I mean? But a lot of people like pleasure spending because it's therapeutic for them. They may not be in the relationship that they want to be in. They may be lonely. And they may be depressed, and suffer from anxiety. So buying something keeps their mind off of things that they're really afraid of, or keeps their mind off of things that they're trying to avoid. Because a lot of people, they're afraid of fighting their demons, and a lot of people are even freaking scared of taking therapy, right? Because they're afraid of learning something about themselves that they are going to struggle very, very hard to change. Because I believe anybody can change. I've changed significantly, alhamdulillah. But people are really terrified of learning how to change because you're going to have to face the music, you're going to have to face your demons. And it's different than facing somebody else as an adversary. Like when you know that you're your own worst enemy, that takes you're going to go through all kinds of processes, man, of shame and guilt and remorse and maybe even self-hatred, self-loathing. And that's a part of the process to better yourself. But a lot of people are afraid of that. So it's like, oh, hey, let me buy that. Oh, hey, let me sleep with so-and-so. Let me go on a date. Let me get drunk. Let me get high. You know what I mean? And that's very, very sad. And so I'm always also afraid of reverting back to who I used to be. I would rather die than be the man I used to be. Because, sometimes you can't, it sucks when you can't even get sleep at night. You know what I mean? I couldn't get sleep at night sometimes because I was always anxious about the next day. Now it's just like, hey, I can roll with the punches, man. Because I got, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by my side, and he's going to challenge me. But I know I can always accept the challenge. I'm ready to step up to the plate. I'm ready, like a batter, man, ready to do, a home run each and every time with every challenge. Because I know it betters me each and every time, with all the challenges. But previously, all the challenges I created were for myself, and they were like self-sabotage, if you will. Oh, we got some fam in here. Hey, Sisters Therapy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's amazing that you're in my chat room. Thank you so much, sister. You are amazing, sister. You increase my imam with every video that you do. I try to see them as soon as they come out, as soon as they're live, sister. I'm sorry that you may not see my presence, but I really appreciate what you do. Thank you so much for what you do. There's not enough words in the English language to show how much I appreciate you. And then my boy Mace, thank you so much. The reason I got on YouTube in the first place is because Taggart. Shout out to that, bro. If you like sports, go check him out as well. So, usually I kind of reach a point where I don't like being a dead horse. So if anybody in the chat right now has anything relating to the topic that they want to express, I would let somebody on, but unfortunately, the speaker is kind of a little weird. So I've been having issues with hearing from anybody. So I'm putting the link in the chat if anybody wants to come up and talk real quick. I'll try to see if I can hear you. My headphones are all right, but I'll give it a chance, and if not, then I'll go back to the topic, then probably close this out. So, yeah. So, whenever also with the news is, I'm not a supporter of the Taliban whatsoever. But one thing I think is perplexing is how the media puts out, oh, people are living in fear, and people living in fear. And I wish that I could go on the ground and see what things actually are instead of going through the media's lenses. But yes, there is a general fear when there's any regime change anywhere, right? Think about the American Revolution. When we took over our country from the British, everybody that was in support of the British, a lot of them fled to Canada or fled over to the other colonies because there was going to be a sense of revenge, right? It's happened in every single revolution or every single government overthrow that's ever happened in history. But it's funny, the media, they know the people are ignorant, so they know they can use that as a cover to paint a broad brush against, a regime change anywhere in the world. Even look at so-called democratic, processes and stuff like that and overthrows. Recent one that happened in Burma, Myanmar. Aung Suu Kyi, she was a political prisoner, Nobel Prize winner. She took over, and everybody was all celebrating it and stuff like that. And now she's overseeing an actual genocide that her army is doing in Burma. Myanmar, which is the country that she's a president of. And it's ironic, nobody's really covering that. Why? Because, it's a, quote, democracy, I mean, think about it. Like, if a genocide's going on anywhere in the world, that should be front page news. Not any celebrity crap, not like Bill Nas X or any of that garbage. It should be like literally people are dying and being systematically killed. Like, why isn't that not front page news? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy how they do that. So I see some of y'all like came in a little later. I like to keep these short and sweet now. Thank you so much, guys, for your support. I'm going to put my Instagram in the chat again. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, please do. I just made a new account, so there won't be many posts, but I like doing stories and, in between of, going live. So if you guys have any topics that you want me to talk about, you can send me a DM. How about that? Yeah, sister. Yeah. You live in the UK, so you deal with the BBC. Now, the BBC, in my opinion, is way better than what we got over here. My favorite news outlet, personally, is Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera, because it's, from a region outside of the West, what they cover is a really good, their documentaries are superb. But they cover a lot of things that the Western media outlets won't cover. But the BBC, of course, is going to slant to one kind of way. I can imagine right before the Iraq invasion, they were probably prepping up the war, and Saddam Hussein's got weapons of mass destruction. And then years later, now they know, of course, it was a complete farce. And they interview people like George Galloway, and George Galloway is very vocal about, the effects of the Iraq war and the military-industrial complex and things like that. So you have to be very wary of new Western media outlets because they'll gear you up for something, and then years later, act like they didn't work the main proponent of it. Like, for instance, Islamophobia in the U.S., I remember both CNN and Fox News had nothing but negative things to say about Muslims. I believe that. When I was like, a Christian, I thought all Muslims were terrorists. Even though my dad had a Quran that he studied sometimes, he never became Muslim. Maybe one day, inshallah. I try to give him dawah. But I literally thought all Muslims were terrorists because of what the media was portraying. Both left and right American news sources were doing that. The left was, they oppress women and they do this and they hate homosexuals and they genocide and all this other kind of stuff. And then the right was like, these people are terrorists. They want to go and kill Americans. They hate freedom. Like, that even perplexes me that was a talking point. They hate freedom. You know what I mean? Like, but if your freedom is, I want cheaper gas, so I'm going to impose a dictator regime somewhere over in Asia so I can have cheaper gas prices, I would hate that freedom too if it was affecting me. Now the same people are complaining about, the current administration, my freedoms, and they're going to take away my guns, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, that's the same thing you guys did and supported for, countries X, Y, and Z. We supported coups all over the world. And then when it happens to us, people lose their minds. It's crazy. People don't see that it's a cycle. You saying? You get what you put out into the world, you receive back. It's like the natural karma of the universe. You know what I mean? Sister, you said we need balanced news, not creative propaganda and fear people's hearts. Yes, indeed. I mean, Rob, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide your father and us all. Yes, my dad's very, very stubborn. And I try to give dawah when I can to people. I don't like being overimposed with dawah. Like, the best dawah for me is how I live my life. I know he's seen the changes that in my personal life that I've given to others. You know what I mean? Like I used to drink a lot. I used to chase women. And now my dad sees me like, okay, on Fridays, I'm going to Juma and staying in or hanging out with people just that are like-minded and just like talking about real stuff and not trying to, chase skirts and, get drunk or get high. Like he notices that and he's kind of perplexed, about it. But at the same time, I mean, he's just so stubborn. He like, anytime I talk to him about Dawa, he gets very, very defensive, because he's very, very set in his ways. And I think a lot of people are like that when it comes to politics or religion. Like, like certain generations, they're very set in their ways and they're afraid to admit that they're wrong. You know what I mean? It's knowing that you're wrong, especially from a spiritual standpoint, and having to reinvent the wheel, that takes a lot of humility, and you're going to have to basically break down your ego. And a lot of people don't like having their ego broken down. You're a therapist, so you probably know more than anybody. Like when people get challenged with their ego, like people get super, super defensive. And it's natural. It's only human, It makes it with the good hair. But yeah, I'm going to cut this short and sweet, guys. I might do another one later on today. Sister, both nicer, of course, your sister too in humanity, but Sisters Therapy, thank you so much. I look forward to the next post that you do or the next stream that you do. You and sisters like you make us brothers, increase our demand, because I know for women that this struggle and this dunya is way harder on y'all. I know the shaitan goes after our sisters so hard, especially for you to be living modestly. And at the same time, in your line of work, you're providing, helping, and healing people through their crises. That's so beautiful, sister. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you're not married, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you a great husband that supports you. And, if you wish children, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you healthy, beautiful children that are going to make this world a better place one day, inshallah. Yeah, mashallah, that's so true. Giving da'wah through your action character is beautiful. Yes, alhamdulillah for that. Yeah, but I'm going to go. I hope all y'all have a blessed day. Thanks also to my boy Mace coming in. I might try to catch one of your streams. I'm out right now getting some tea, but I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Regardless if you guys believe or not, may the Most High, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, keep you guys safe, because these are troubling times, all right? Keep your minds open and your hearts for being sealed. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.